Good day, everyone. The topic that we're going to discuss is about social responsibility towards the environment. These are all the reporters. Ako si Angeline Manaog, Mary Ann Mausig, Krika, Maricris, Renemy, Maria Tensi, and Gurley. Once again, I am Abby Catherine Lorica and I'm going to discuss the Solar Petron oil spill of Guimaras, year 2006, Mark Copper mining disaster, year 1996, and to know if there's an ethical issue between the two. 2006 Solar Petron oil spill off Guimaras. August 11, 2006, date of empty Solar 1 Petron oil spill off Guimaras. 2.1 million liters oil spilled caused by bad weather, human error, tanker overloading, and ship's captain was not qualified to sail the vessel. On August 11, 2006, the oil tanker MT Solar 1, hired by Petron Corporation, sank off the coast of Guimaras, spilling more than 2.1 million liters, about 555,000 gallons, of bunker fuel. It considered the biggest environmental disaster to hit the Philippines' coastal and marine resources. Several causes have been cited, including bad weather and human error. Allegations have been made stating that the tanker only had a huge capacity of liters, implying the possibility of overloading. Other investigations have claimed that the ship's captain was not qualified to sail the vessel. Affected at least 40,000 people depend on fishing. 500 hectares of mangroves and 60 hectares of seaweed plantations in 3 towns of Guimaras Island. 1,143 hectares marine reserve on Tacloban Islands covered with oil. During low tide, mangroves in marine sanctuary are covered with thick sludge, 60 centimeter high, and some sea creatures lie dead in the muck. Marine reserve is a fragile ecosystem, and the death of the mangroves and corals also means the loss of rich fishing ground. As expected, the irreversible situation affects the livelihood of many residents of Guimaras. The oil spill has affected at least 40,000 people who largely depend on fishing. 500 hectares of mangroves and 60 hectares of seaweed plantations in 3 towns of Guimaras Island. 1,143-hectare marine reserve on Tacloban Island, a breeding ground for more than 100 species of fish, has some of the most diverse flora, fauna, and fauna in the country, which is now covered with oil. During low tide, mangroves in the marine sanctuary are covered with thick sludge about 60 meters high, and some sea creatures such as coral, snakes, and small crabs lie dead in the muck. The marine reserve is a fragile ecosystem, and the death of the mangroves and corals also means the loss of the rich fishing ground. As expected, the irreversible situation affects the livelihood of many residents of Guimaras. It means that the oil that contaminated the water was not only devastating for the environment but also for the people and the economy of Guimaras. After 13 years, Guimaras once again boasts pristine beaches with white sand, and fisher folks have returned to harvesting the abundance of the waters. Next, 1996 Mar copper mining disaster. Owned and operated by Placer Dome Incorporation, a Canadian firm, the Marinduque Mining Corporation Marcopper was a multinational enterprise whose operations have been centralized in Marinduque for 25 years. It operated one of the largest copper mines in the country, and in 1995 alone earned a net profit of 80 million, the worst mining and environmental disaster in the Philippines. Mark Copper Mining Corporation explores, develops, and operates mining claims and produces copper, silver, and gold. The company local unit of Placer Dome Incorporation of Canada also operates a fishing fleet and produces canned tuna through its subsidiary Fishing Company Incorporation. In 1995, earned a net profit of 80 million. About 25 years of service before the incidents happened, it was declared as the worst mining and environmental disaster in the Philippines. This disaster at the Marcopper mines of Marinduque made headlines around the world. On March 24, 1996, residents along the Bowac River noticed dead fishes along the river and dead animals on the banks. They were afraid because the water on the river thickened, then quickly returned to grayish mud, which threatened to pollute the water being used by 20 barangays along the river. In the following days, the toxic flood flowed towards the sea, foreshadowing the death of the river, affecting families in the barangays of Hinapulan and Binunga. Bowac River was dead. On March 24, 1996, the drainage tunnel of Mark Copper Mining Corporation's open pit ruptured and spilled 23 millions of tons of mine waste that smothered the Bowac River in Marinduque, inundating villages and killing marine life. It caused flash floods that buried villages. About a third or 20 out of 60 villages had to be evacuated with approximately 20,000 people affected. Nearby villages lost one of their major sources of livelihood. Barangay Binunga and Hinapulan was buried under 6 feet of muddy flood water, causing 400 families to flee to higher grounds. Sources of drinking water were contaminated with toxins. Fish, freshwater, shrimps, and figs were killed outright. Helicopter had to fly in food, water, and medical supplies to the isolated villages. As the agricultural and marine life got severely affected, the government declared Bowac River was dead. Health impact. Because of the toxic spill, 2 out of 3 persons were found positive for subhemoglobinemia. Anemia and neurologic manifestations were detected in 4 out of 6 persons that suggests chronic exposure to toxic materials. To date, residents in the worst hit areas are complaining that toxic waste has caused physical deformities in newborn babies. After the two-person ate fish from Bowac River, they are diagnosed positive for sulhemoglobinemia, a sick not normally found in the human blood. The pigment in greenish derivative of hemoglobin which cannot convert it back to normal, functional hemoglobin. It causes cyanosis even at low blood level. 4 out of 6 persons diagnosed for anemia and neurologic manifestations. Anemia is a condition in which lack enough healthy red blood cells to carry adequate oxygen to your body's tissues. Having anemia, also referred to as low hemoglobin, can make you feel tired and weak. Cause of anemia is a low levels of iron in the body, while neurological manifestations include but are not limited to headache, impaired consciousness, stroke seizures, meningitis, and encephalitis. It also affected the physical deformities of the newborn babies. Because of the situation, eventually the company closed and the mining operation stopped. The Mark Copper mining disaster led to significantly change the government's mining policies. The disaster prompted government to revise the rules of the Mining Act to focus more on the protection of the environment and address social issues. Now we're going to know if there is an ethical issue between the two. Mining itself or extracting minerals from the womb of the earth is not unethical, and oil business and mining industries are an important part of the economic whole. Oil and mining business is unethical because it pollutes the environment and destroys first layer of the earth's surface. But it gives a huge importance in the economy, such as tax revenues, high wages, significant purchases of high-value plant and materials. Other good things are technological and productivity gains that help not only the mining industry but are also transforming other sectors. There must have been a moral contradictions going on in the minds of the mining executive long before the disaster occurred. The values of integrity, respect for their community, the environment, and the future of the people of Marinduque. Can we say that all of this seemed to have been sacrificed of all the altar of the goddess profit? Is this a correct statement? Before the disaster occurred, the mining executive must apply a moral contradictions or predict it to happen. From the situation, no one has been affected. The business must always keep in mind that values of integrity, respect, or protection for the community and the future of the people is the most important, aside from the gaining profit, so that it can boost employee morally in the workplace and lead to greater productivity. Solar Petron Exxon Valdez and more copper cases are no longer hitting the headlines, but these accidents have delivered a strong message to the business and government regulators. The neglect of corporate social responsibility can generate more harm to the already suffering residents of the planet Earth and the already abused ecology, and that the damage is in fact irreparable. Neglect of CSR or corporate social responsibility can generate more harm to the already suffering residents of the planet Earth and the already abused ecology. The damage is irreparable. From the situation occurred, business and government had to change the law and regulations, making it more focused on the protections of the environment and address social issues. The green CSR can reduce business risk, improve reputation, and provide opportunities for the cost saving. That's all, thank you. So the continuation of our topic will be discussed by the next reporter, Angeline Manaog.